Okay, hey everybody, it's 28th of May. Been off for a few days here doing some other things, working on my Spitfire. Put new chrome bumpers on my 1980 Spitfire. It looks a lot nicer. So anyway, back into the shed to work on the GT6, and what I've just done is put in metal for this repair here along the front of the rear fender well. So some metal along here all the way up, and then along this inside flange of the lip of the fender well. So I've just trimmed that back to approximately the right curve based on the patch panel, and I'm about to start grinding these welds down. So next step after that is I'll get this patch panel fitted in. See you in a little bit. Okay, as far as I got today, I've got this tacked in, don't have all of the welds finished. A little more tacking to do there, some more spot welds to do around the edges. But I've run out of wire, so off to the store. Don't know if I'll get back here this afternoon. It is bloody hot in here today. I don't have a thermometer, but it's probably in the mid-30s and it's very humid. Anyway, not bad progress for just a couple hours in the shop today. See you soon. Okay, early afternoon of the 29th, and I have finished putting in this patch panel. Still has to be ground down, but I'll come back to that in a little bit. Now I'm moving up towards the front to this bottom A-post piece that I have a patch panel for. So let me just bring the panel into play here. So panel goes here like this. So what I've been doing is I've just trimmed back a little bit here around this curve. And I think, given the state of some of the metal right here on the outside edge of the curve, I'm going to make a small patch around here, make that a little bit stronger. Also, it's, if you bring this up into its approximate finished position, somewhere around there, you can see under here that there's a bit of a gap. So, yeah, right in there. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'll put in a patch here, and then what I'll do is I'll fix a flange on the inside here that I can bring this to, and then once that's done, I can weld that into place and then move on to the sills. So, might have this patching and this welding done today. If things go well, keep your fingers crossed for me. Okay, so as I mentioned, I was going to do some patching and repairing in this corner. I have a little piece made up here to fit this spot, but as you can see from the state of those tacks that I tried to place there just a moment ago, the metal is even thinner than I had realized. So I think I'm going to have to make this whole patch area a lot bigger. So I was just looking actually in my pile of scraps and realized I have this section of floor pan that I'd cut out that already has a nice curve on it that almost matches that. So I'm just going to take the hammer to that and adjust the curve a little bit until it's a little bit closer match, and then take out a bigger piece here. So I'll come back when I've got something else to show you as a follow-up to that. Okay, quick end of day update. So what I've done is I've been working on the section here where the bottom of the A panel, or the A post, is going to be repaired. In order to prepare that for the repair, I've repaired this curved section here by welding in a relatively largish patch that I actually salvaged from the floor pan that I didn't use. I put in a flange here. I think I'm going to have to fiddle with this flange a little bit, especially this lower part, in order to get the A-post section to fit out far enough this way, that way. I'm going to have to do a little bit of fiddling with that. And then I've just been doing some various repairs over here. This little section here needed a little patch, and then the bottom here of the door frame section needed some patching. So all of that in preparation. Probably the next time I get out here I'll be attaching the bottom of the A-post. So that might be tomorrow, who knows. See you then. Hope you'll join me. Hello, I'm back again. So it's the 30th of May today. It's just around noon, and I've been here in the shed for a little over an hour. And again, just working on getting ready to put in this patch panel for the bottom of the A-post. And just looking at all the little bits and pieces to get sorted before I can actually put that panel in. So I've just done a little bit of a repair here on this flange, just at the front, and then there was a wraparound of some kind here. The only clue I had to that was the remnants that were left, the little rusty bits. So I've recreated that in a flange that comes around this support piece and then wraps around inside the floor. I don't know if that's exactly how it was, but that's how I've recreated it. So a little bit of grinding back, and I think it'll be time to fit the panel in. Oh, and as I mentioned, I was fudging this flange here a little bit, so I put a cut here in the corner where the bend is, and then flip this down. When I get the repair panel in here, then I'll see whether this just comes off, whether I can flip it up and wrap it around. Yep, that's where I am. Hey everybody, David here, I'm back. In case we were wondering whether I'd given up on this, the answer is no. It's just, today's the 20th of July, and it's been probably at least a month and a half since I was out here in the shed. It's been pretty crazy, between getting our rental property ready for some new tenants, my son's wedding, then after that helping him out on a construction job for a couple of weeks, then a funeral, and then anyway, so it's been a pretty crazy month and a half, very busy. Unfortunately busy not in the shed, so I'm back in the shed today. I'll give you a quick update as to where I am, what I'm doing now, and what's on the schedule for the very near future. So here we go. So today I started, or got back to the spot welds here along the bottom of the inner strengthener for the passenger side sill. And so I've got the bottom of the A-post in, the strengthener is in, it's welded, spot welded on the inside. I don't know if there's any light for you to see that. So now it's a matter of grinding back some of those welds and getting ready to put the actual sill on. Then it's a bit of a toss-up whether what I'm gonna do next. Either I'm gonna come back up here to the floor panels and finish off some of these welds. There's some gaps here, and then over there on the driver's side there's lots of gaps because I had only tacked that in. That was the first panel that I actually did several months ago now. So it just has tacks holding it in place, so I should probably go back and do some continuous beads on there. So it's either do those things first, or come back here and start tackling the rear portions of the fenders. As you can see, for example, this is the passenger side one. Driver's side is pretty much the same. There's a fair amount of rot from here on the fender well all the way back around here. Now I do have replacement panels for here, which I think come to about this point, so there may be a little bit of extra patching, especially around here around the fender well. But the other part of this is back here on the rear valence. I'm going to have to make sure I can get good metal here to tie this into. So there'll be some patching to do on here before I can finish doing this. And the same is on the other side as well. Then again, continuing on the rear valence, you've probably seen all this before if you've watched my other videos. Little dark under here, haven't got a light handy, but all along here, along the ridge of the valence, along the entire trunk area, there's lots of perforations, so that's going to require attention. That, I'm hoping, is just going to be a few pieces of flat that are patched in along the entire length there, but we'll have to see. Oh yeah, the hot rodders are out again, revving up their little rice rocket engines. Yeah, so yeah, as I said, toss up between finish off welds here or jump to here. The good angel says finish what you're doing first before you move on to something new. That's probably what I'll end up doing. So that's my little update for today. This is probably going to get tacked on to a bunch of footage from back in May, so I can actually get another video up on YouTube. And for those of you who have been following and commenting, I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you watching the videos. I appreciate your patience with me not having uploaded anything in many weeks. So hopefully this is the start of getting back to the project and getting some work done. Thanks again, and we'll see you again soon. Hey everybody, David here at my GT6 restoration. Can't believe it's the 4th of August already. I've got to confess I have been kind of procrastinating on a bunch of stuff lately. So I'm going to do a quick update here on some things, and then hopefully get to work actually getting some stuff done. So I've gotten the passenger side sill attached, and after I got that done, I was at the point where I had lots and lots of grinding to do, and I must confess, wasn't looking forward to that, so I've been kind of putting that off for a little while now, about a week or maybe a bit more. So I got a bunch of grinding here on this part of the sill, some up here. I did a little bit here, but then I started doing some more welding here on the bottom, on the floor panels. So those welds have got to be ground down, and then I went and did some over on this side. Those have to be ground down, and then back here on the driver's side, I have welds that I did a couple of months ago that I have to grind down. So tons and tons of grinding, and frankly wasn't really looking forward to it. But I finally decided that I had to do something. I've actually been spending a fair amount of time, or maybe an unfair amount of time, doing some maintenance on the spit that I bought last year, which is, let's take a quick walk over there, take a look at it. So I bought this Spitfire last December in the hopes that I would be able to have something to keep my focus on on the GT6 project, without losing hope. So I'd have something to drive around, and I gotta say, it's been a lot of fun, but it's actually sucked up more of my time than I had originally planned on. it's in pretty good condition, but there were a few things that had to be done. And a few weeks ago I decided that I was going to do the brakes and the shocks. And so, I did that. I had a couple of little minor setbacks while I was doing that, and that wasn't too bad. But then about a week and a half ago, after I got the brakes and shocks done, I thought, let's go out for a nice little drive. Took it for a quick test drive, and that was great. That was a lot of fun. Came back, planned a slightly longer drive to have a little bit of fun. And then when I was out on that drive, which was about 50, 60 kilometers long, if it had gone as planned, the engine overheated. So after getting it towed home, then diagnosis finally turned out that the water pump was leaking. So I got a new water pump. So, hey, let's get the water pump in, let's fill it up with coolant, we take it out for a test drive. Well, of course, no, that wasn't the end of the story. After I got the water pump in and filled it up with coolant, then I saw a leak in the rad. So I pulled the rad, and it's currently at a local rad shop. I'm getting it recored. They were able to do a 3-row recore for me. It's going to be about $200. Yes, I know I could get a new rad for about that price, but it will be 3-row, so hopefully it'll have a little bit more cooling capacity, and it's also going to be ready by next week. Hopefully be able to pick it up Tuesday. It's a long weekend around here, so anyway, maybe get that back in early next week and then take it out for another test drive, and then maybe hopefully I can refocus on my GT6. Anyway, for today, in order to get back on the creative arc, or the effective arc, or whatever you want to call it, I'm back out here. I kind of pushed myself to make sure I did it. I just watched the latest episode 18 of the Big Key Project, so now I feel like I should actually do something. So got some supplies yesterday. Got some new gloves, because mine were down to rags, and got some new floppy discs, and got some rubber gloves as well. Don't need those for what I'm doing, but anyway, so I'm ready to go. So lots of grinding. Maybe I'll have a little grinding shot in here just to, relieve the talking of the episode, and then just get to it, and then we'll see where that leads us. Alright, since I'm here, I'm going to point out a few of the little jobs that I have to get finished before I can move on to the rear portion. So I've got to tie this in. This is where the stiffener is on the inside. You can see on this pan where I kept the original, it comes down at a constant slope and meets the floor pan. On this replacement floor pan, it's not quite the same, so I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting the seams there and bringing that down to line up, and then doing some more patching in here. This is obviously needs to be the gap needs to be filled there. A couple of little spots over here, like this one right here, that has to be patched in, and then another one up here in the corner has to be patched in as well. Oh, and a tiny little one over here on the passenger side. So just a little bit of a gap there that needs to be filled. But once I do that and get all the grinding done, that's the majority of the big stuff. Now there's a few other things. The car is clamped in place, so I'm not going to try and flip it over right now. But the finishers for both sides here on the sills, have to be put in place. So I think I'm actually going to have to get replacement pieces, because in the process of drilling out all the plug welds on these, on both sides, they got pretty chewed up. So there's not much left of them. And that stiffener that I mentioned, the cross member on the inside of the driver's side, got pretty chewed up when it came out as well. So here's what it looks like. Yeah, that goes on the inside, goes like that. So I could possibly repair that, but I may just end up getting a replacement piece. I don't think that's too expensive in any case. So home stretchish on the front wheels forward, or the rear wheels forward. And after that, it's rear wheels back. As I think I've already mentioned in a couple of segments, this part here, the rear of the rear fender, and a bumper back here, the valance on both sides. All right, that's the end of that update.